Second place you can go is also outdated. This is called the Dictionary of Occupational Titles, or DOT. There's another acronym for you. And this resource is developed by the United States Department of Labor. They compiled information from thousands of occupations, and they started this quite a while ago in 1938. And they kept doing that and updating it until the early 90s. Now they used an approach called functional job analysis, and functional job analysis involves rating each job based on the complexity with which it deals with three things: data, so information, and you can go from just comparing pieces of data, which is fairly simple, to synthesizing or analyzing data, which is more complicated. The job gets rated on the extent to which it interacts with people. So helping people is relatively simple, whereas mentoring somebody is relatively complicated. And things, physical objects, which can involve handling. So if you're just moving something from point A to point B, that's pretty simple, whereas setting up or constructing things is more complicated. Here's an example entry from the DOT, and you can see that it has a code at the top, which is related to the data, people, and things ratings for that job. So this is the job of a cloth printer. So those numbers there, although it's hard to see from this entry, actually are based on the code of the data, people, things analysis. And then the bulk of the entry is the job description, which breaks down what the job actually entails. Can you guess what kind of approach this is based on what you see here? It's a task-oriented approach. There's not much here about KSAOs. It's all about what the person does. Focus is really on the work, not the worker. This was part of the downfall of the DOT and why it was abandoned for something more ambitious, because it was sort of incomplete without that worker-oriented approach. And you could still explore job titles and descriptions online. The DOT can be reached by going to this website here, occupationalinfo.org. But keep in mind that this data is over 20 years old. It was replaced by something called the Occupational Network, or ONET. And there's the website there, onetonline.org. In a second, I'll take you there and we'll take a look at what it looks like. Before we take a tour of the website, let's take a look at what the ONET model comprises. You'll see it's a lot more comprehensive than the DOT. So here's the model. And it's designed to collect comprehensive information about tasks. You can see it there under occupational specific information on the bottom right. And it's also got KSAOs represented under worker characteristics, worker requirements, and experience requirements, which run across the top row there. Note that ONET also provides information on the work context, such as physical, structural, and social factors that influence how the job is done, and labor market information. Now let's take a quick tour of the ONET Online website. So here we are at the ONET Online website, and I'm just going to show you a couple of things really quickly, mostly from the perspective of somebody who wants to explore different occupations or careers. So the first thing that you can do is, if you know exactly where you want to explore, you can go up to this box here, Occupational Quick Search, and you can just type in anything. So if you're interested in being an industrial organizational psychologist, you just type that in, hit go, and look, bright outlook, and then you can click on that, and then there are other related fields, but clearly this is exactly what we were looking for. And here's the overview of that occupation. So you have a bit of a job description here, different titles that you might see that fall within IO psychologists, and then you get to the tasks that are involved. So this would be sort of the output from a task-oriented job analysis, tools that tend to get used. There's SPSS right there, for example. Areas of knowledge, skills, abilities. You can tell this is definitely coming out of IO psychology itself, because it's got the KSAs, it's got the tasks, and then contextual information, all this sort of stuff here. And then a little bit of information about relevant education and experience. and how much education is required. So you can see that IO psychologists are about 50-50 in terms of how many have a PhD or a master's degree. Interest profiles that tend to map onto. Not sure exactly where the artistic is coming from, but that's cool. And then some other things down here, what kinds of work that people who do this career tend to like. And then here we have information about salary and whether this is a growing field or not. And it is a growing field, 29% or higher growth over the current decade. So you can do that for any job that you're interested in. Let's scroll back up and go back to the main page. So I want to show you just one other thing, and that's a skills search. So if you want to go from the other end saying, I don't know what I want to be, but I know that the job that I want is going to have these characteristics or use these skills, you can go over to advanced search and click on focus. And this is what I think is the most useful here. Click on skill search. And you can just check off the things that you either feel like you have, or that you're working on, or that you want to use in your job. So let's say that you are interested in a job that requires speaking and learning strategies and social skills, that you want it to be a job where being perceptive is and coordinating is important. Then you can just see what kinds of things might come out of that combination of skills. I guess if you're a CEO, then that's a good match, but you could see some others, and obviously a lot of these you're going to look at and say, ugh, no, but there might be others that pique your interest. So something else to play around with. So I've used this demonstration to talk mostly about how ONET is useful for job seekers, but you could see how the profiles that we've looked at would be also helpful for people who are starting the process of building a job analysis or other sorts of personnel or managerial tools. All told, ONET is one of the most visible contributions by IO psychologists to the general public. It's still a work in progress and probably will never be complete given how fast jobs are changing. But it has great potential for researchers, employers, job seekers, and vocational professionals. Just remember that ONET provides information about occupations, not particular jobs or positions within a specific company. So in this way it is a little bit generic. We should expect that a job within a particular company should differ somewhat from the overall occupational profile that you see on ONET. In fact, this has created some unreliability in the ONET data. When they've collected data from multiple people who are doing the same job but at different organizations, they find that the data doesn't always match up well. On a related note, let's finish by looking at an empirical job analysis study done in 1986 by Green and Stutzman. They studied 343 healthcare workers and how they responded to job analysis questionnaires. Essentially, they were completing surveys about what they do on their own jobs. Now, what Green and Stutzman did, unbeknownst to the respondents, is they put 5 fake tasks on the survey. These are tasks that they knew from talking to supervisors ahead of time were definitely not part of the job, such as prepare budget for facility or complete yearly evaluation of employees. These are things that they knew that the healthcare workers who are about to fill out the survey did not do on their jobs. So what did they find? Well, when they got the surveys back, they found that over half, 57%, said that they performed at least one of these irrelevant or fake tasks. In other words, they said they did something that they don't actually do. And 72% of those people who reported doing these fake tasks said that the task was at least somewhat important. So the takeaway message from this single study is that we can't necessarily assume that the information we get from a job analysis is consistent or accurate. There may be reasons why people might, whether they realize it or not, give information that's not quite accurate. A careful job analysis would involve double-checking results, such as taking data from both employees and supervisors and comparing it to see where the overlap is. There you have it. There's a quick overview of what job analysis is all about.